Hi, I'm Adam,
This is Kevin.
and we are Tech Guys Who Invest. This is the place for business people and investors to learn all about investing. We offer a fresh perspective on what it's like to have a day job while investing, and we share lessons learned on our investing journey. Our vision is to educate and entertain you while adding tons of value to your daily commute. Welcome to our show.
Welcome to another episode of the Tech Guys Who Invest podcast. On this episode, Adam and I talk all about taking action. We cover big pieces of action that you can take and smaller actions that you can take as well in your everyday life. Ultimately, we hope you get motivated to do something with your money other than having it parked in a savings account that's technically losing money due to inflation. And here are our thoughts on taking action.
Hey, Kevin, what's one thing you've done this week to take massive action towards your goals?
What I did this week was I am working on closing on a note. It is a second position note where I'm lending money out of my self-directed IRA at 8%, and the person I'm loaning money to, they're giving me second position on a house that, or a property on an asset that has well over $300,000 in equity. So I feel very protected by doing a second position note.
Awesome.
And how about you? What was the one thing you did this week that allowed you to take massive action?
I reached out to Khleif and invited him onto our podcast.
Nice.
Thanks, buddy.
And for those of you that don't know Khleif, episode 6 is when Adam went to a local conference in Tampa, and Khleif is this massive multifamily expert. And he lives actually in Sarasota, and his podcast is fantastic. He's been on Tyler Sheff's recently too, the Cash Flow Guys podcast, and he talks about mindset and goal setting, and I think that is a fantastic episode, so you should check that out. And we'll put that in the show notes for your reference.
Yeah, we'll put it in the show notes. Okay, so that, I did some things that are smaller, massive actions.
Yeah, because taking action doesn't necessarily mean everything needs to be a home run.
Right.
4 singles in baseball is a home run also.
Oh, I like that.
So even if you think about the statistics of success in the context of baseball, the best hitters have I think it's an ERA, or excuse me, sorry, someone's going to crucify me on the internet, a batting average of what, in the 300s, something like that. So the statistics are so low for success. So even those little tiny actions will always add up to something greater.
Yeah, I love that. And boy, this ties in really nicely to what we wanted to talk about today, which is not taking massive action. That's a fun discussion to have, but it's taking action.
Agreed.
And I love what you just said about taking action and doing little steps, but always moving forward. Just gets you where you want to be eventually.
And I struggled with this from a blog perspective. When I launched my personal development blog, I was thinking in 6 months I need to be making some money. 6 months went by, I didn't make money. A year went by, I wasn't making money. And then I just stopped because it's overwhelming. Like, wow, how did I screw up so royally? And I realize now that while I had that massive goal, it wasn't broken down enough into smaller pieces for me to say, okay, I've done this, which connects to this, which connects to this, which will ultimately yield the result.
Yeah, that's definitely one of the benefits of taking action every day. You realize accomplishments, and humans really need to feel some sense of accomplishment to stay motivated and to keep moving. I teach this in my day job. I teach this as an agile coach, right? We break our software down in our requirements for what we should build in the software. We break those down into little bits that teams can complete within 2 weeks. So every 2 weeks, we like to see our teams have some piece of the software working. And it's the same reason, like it motivates them to see something they feel accomplished and they're ready to go. But if you just look at a giant enterprise software platform, it's daunting, right?
Absolutely.
And they can easily get just sort of get the wind taken out of their sails from looking at the huge piece.
Yeah, that's something that I wanted to point out. It gets overwhelming. You see
Right.
something, you have this big goal, and you're like, oh, I have to take massive action in order to get that goal. But the momentum you build from showing up every day, doing something every day that will help get you closer and closer, I think is better than always trying to swing for a home run.
What do you think some of the reasons why people don't take action is?
That's a fantastic question. I think there are 3 reasons why people don't take action. The first being fear of failure. It's scary to fail. I absolutely agree, especially if you're putting yourself out there. To try and achieve something extraordinary means you are going to be absolutely uncomfortable. And there's that fear that if I fail, people will look at me as a failure. But every person that we know succeeded always talks about how hard they've fallen and failed first.
Yeah, I think the first real good memory I have of a successful person explaining this was Dave Ramsey. I saw him at an in-person event at my church, and he's very dynamic, larger than life in person. And I remember him talking about every successful person is standing on a pile of failures. That's what elevates them, as their failures. And it began to help me think about it in a separate way. Like, wow, if I can fail and be comfortable with that, use it as a positive experience and a way to learn and grow, then it's no longer a negative thing. Failing is just part of growing and getting where you need to be. Don't let it get you down, right?
Agreed. I think Carol Dwek, she's the one that wrote the Mindset book, which I haven't read, but I know that a lot of people have talked about it, where it's a growth mindset or a fixed mindset. Having a growth mindset is huge in real estate investing, or investing in general, or just in life, right? If you try something and it fails, you have 2 options. You can think to yourself, well, this is a fait accompli, I'm done. Or what did I learn? Where did I go wrong? How can I be better?
Yeah, I think that's really good. And what was interesting for me personally is I didn't realize I was so afraid to fail. Because for some reason, my inner voice didn't tell me that story of failure as a story of being afraid to fail. It was more of, I don't know how to explain it very well, but it was more of just lack of wanting to try something I didn't think I could really be awesome at. And after lots of introspection, I realized, you know what, this is a form of being afraid to fail. And I've been working on myself for the last year to really get past that. And I've made some great progress. And I think taking action has helped me get past that. It's almost like that thing that prevented me from taking action has sort of gone away once I just moved through it and started to take action.
Yeah, and also if you think about each time you're taking action, if it's a small failure, it feels less daunting, or it hurts less than if it was a big, massive failure. But those little failures teach you something each and every time, so that when you do take a big swing for the stars, you would be better off than if you were to take it, inexperienced, is my thought.
Right. Yeah. So I guess one of the reasons I shared that about myself is because I think it might be able to help some people listening if they are struggling with a similar thing, right? If they feel like I'm not getting started, I'm not doing some steps towards my goal, taking action, and why is that? Is it because I'm afraid to fail? Maybe that can help you sort of identify that in yourself, and then you can start to move past it.
Yeah, and then thinking about why you're afraid to fail is a big one. What's the worst that happens? I know that, and this is funny because I get scared the idea of if somebody invests in me losing their money. It's almost weird to be afraid of something that is inevitable, because as an investor, you can only control so many things, right? You can't control absolutely everything. Even if you buy right, you could still get burned. That's just a matter of life.
Yeah.
And investors know inherently that there's always a risk. There is no such thing as a safe bet in investing in general.
Yeah, I think we both have a similar mindset that investing in your 401k or your mutual fund is riskier than the type of investing we do.
Agreed.
So even in that, which feels safe to most people, there's the risk you're talking about.
they've done just fantastic job marketing.
Absolutely. All right. And definitely maybe another episode.
Oh, yeah. I agree 100%.
Well, what's another one? So fear of failure is a huge reason why people don't take action. What do you think another one is?
I would say not knowing what to do. I know that we say take action. You may be thinking to yourself, oh, that's fantastic, but what am I supposed to do? How do I take action? For example, if you wanted to invest in notes, start thinking about what you want to invest in, start talking to people, and start getting educated. That's probably the very first step that every investor has told me. One of the best pieces of advice that they give is go learn. Go learn from an expert, go find a mentor, do something where you're educated. Because how do you expect to move forward if you don't exactly know which direction to take?
Yeah, I love it. And you and I are both big learning guys and education guys. So I'm not surprised we agree on that. Getting educated is a great first step. And that itself is taking action.
And what are your favorite ways to get educated?
I really like to read. I'm a huge reader. I love reading nonfiction. So that's one of my biggest, actually. I'd say that's probably my number one because I just enjoy it so much. And podcasts,
Agreed.
Listening to podcasts. I listen to quite a lot of them.
Me too.
And also listen to a lot of audiobooks, which is sort of like reading. But, when I'm driving to work, I really don't listen to music very often. Only if I'm mentally exhausted after a super long, hard day. But other than that, I'm listening to an audiobook or a podcast.
Yeah, when I'm tired too, I feel like my brain just can't absorb any more
Yeah.
pieces of information. I'm like, okay, I need
I
need to shut it off.
Yeah, but it's funny. I mean, I used to drive around and listen to music all the time and crank it, and I enjoy that, but it wasn't growing me.
Yeah, you think about the opportunity cost. I can listen to this song, or I can listen to whatever podcast and get some type of knowledge out of it.
That will then turn into a return on that investment of time.
Exactly. So being patient about what you're getting educated on as well, because just because you read a book doesn't mean you're now an expert.
Right. And then another way to get educated is to meet other people, talk to other people, and learn from them, like you and I do quite a bit.
Yeah. Networking is a huge tool. And I'm noticing that a lot of the investors that Adam and I speak with, they are from the same abundance mindset. Shameless plug, but check out episode 5, I believe it is, for our entire episode on abundance. So we won't hammer too hard on that particular topic, but the idea there is investors love sharing what they're doing. They love talking about and sharing, spreading that knowledge. So just asking questions, shutting up, and listening is a great way to get educated.
It is. I used to be the one talking all the time. And over the years, I've learned that if I just shut up and listen and let other people talk, I learn so much.
Yeah, one of the main points in, I think, How to Win Friends and Influence People by Dale Carnegie is to just shut up and listen, pretty much.
Right. And it works. It's great.
So to figure out what to do, get educated, and ask questions. Google can also be your best friend. And taking that a step further, if you find a podcast where you're thinking, wow, I love what they're doing, I want to learn more, I can almost guarantee you that each podcast host puts their contact information either in the show notes or they say it in the episode. So reach out to them, get to know them, build a relationship with them. And then another reason I think that people tend to not want to take action is this fear of external judgment.
Oh, yeah. I can relate to that.
For the longest time, I didn't want to be on the camera. I do these little 60-second clips of 60 seconds, or success in 60 seconds. It's just kind of my thoughts on personal development, thoughts on note investing. I was thinking to myself, man, people are going to look at me funny. People are going to think, what is this kid talking about? Then you get into imposter syndrome where you feel like you don't belong. All of those things, I think, compound and create a perfect storm of paralyzing you from taking action towards what it is you want to achieve.
Yeah, and a lot of the most successful people will tell you to just drop worrying about what other people think And I've struggled with that so bad. It's just my personality type. I've got a bit of people pleaser in my personality.
Me too.
And it's just tough. But if you can learn how to put that aside and move through it, it helps so much.
One shift in the mentality for me that happened was when I was talking to my mentor. He brought up a point that there is nobody on this planet that's going to take care of Kevin like Kevin. So if you let other people's hypothetical opinions, because most of the time they're not going to tell you to your face anyway, stop you from doing what it is that you're trying to do, it's almost illogical to prevent yourself from taking action because you're afraid of what somebody else thinks.
Yeah, that's really good. And another one that I think is good that helped me a lot is the fact that there are going to be a lot of people who have those opinions about you anyway that don't speak up about them or won't vocalize them, no matter what you do. No matter what you do. So it's like, don't worry about what they think. They're going to think what they think, and a lot of people will do that no matter what you do. So therefore, do what's best for you.
Yeah, you might as well get judged doing what it is that you really want to do,
right.
Trying to create the life you want.
Exactly. Awesome. So a tip that I help people with in my coaching and consulting that also applies here in investing around taking action is writing your goals down, right? Actually write them down. It's very powerful. It will increase the chances that you meet the goal. And then identify some tasks that would help you get towards that goal. So write the goal itself down and then think about, how could I break this into a little bit smaller pieces, tasks that I could do that would help me meet that goal. And then start working on those tasks.
Yeah, those tasks, like we talked about, if you break it down into bite-sized chunks, it will be the only way that you can effectively eat an elephant. If you've heard that saying, the only way to eat an elephant is one bite at a time, that's exactly what those tasks represent.
Yeah. And then another thing that has helped me a lot is asking myself, what's the one thing I can do today to move me closer to my goal, and then do that thing.
I struggle with this question so much because there's so many things that we're trying to do, and I think building focus is a skill in and of itself, right? I think that super successful people have this insane ability to hyper-focus on something and just destroy it and knock it out of the park. But that takes time and skill to rebuild. I mean, there are people that inherently have that talent to be able to focus, but a vast majority of people don't.
Yeah, I agree. And if you can do this, it helps you with that focus. You start to learn it over time, and it ensures that you're taking action. You're doing something that will help. Even if it turns out it wasn't the one thing that you should have done, you've done something. And it's way better than the alternative, which would have been you maybe didn't do anything.
Agreed. And if you struggle with that question like I do, reverse engineer it. If it's, for example, I need to raise capital. Well, how do we raise capital? I market, I network with investors, let them know what I'm doing. How do I know what I'm doing? I get more educated on the things that I want to do. How do I know what that might be? Okay, I think about my investor identity. I think about what it is my investments are supposed to do for me. So if you start asking yourself these series of questions, that introspective curiosity, I think, is going to be huge in getting focused as well.
Yeah. Oh, that's really good. Kevin, this has been great. I've really enjoyed talking about some things that we can do to take action and to move closer to our goals.
Yeah, ultimately, we hope you listeners are inspired to do something. And remember, it doesn't have to be a massive set of actions that will get the ball rolling. Just a little push, and you could start building that snowball effect in your life.
Yeah, I agree. And one other thing Kevin and I both are going to be doing to take action that ties into the education piece we mentioned earlier is we're going to be going to Podfest in March. So we are going to Podfest in Orlando, March 7th through 9th, and we would love to see any of our listeners there. So if you listen to this show and you're going to be at Podcast or in the area, please hit us up, find us on Facebook, LinkedIn, go to our websites, which we'll put in the show notes.
Yeah, TGWIpodcast.com, and you can find our shirts with our logo on it. We'll be wearing them. It's either blue or black, so you can find us at that event, and we love to network with you, learn from you, and just chat about the experience as a podcaster.
That's it for this episode of Tech Guys Who Invest. This is Adam.
And this is Kevin. Thank you so much for listening to us. Don't forget to join our Facebook page where we're building a community of investors so that we can share ideas, tips, and other ways to help us get out of the rat race. If you found value in this podcast, it would mean the world to us if you could share it with your network. Lastly, we love feedback. It's how we get better. So if you wouldn't mind spending 30 seconds and leaving us an honest review on iTunes or Stitcher or whatever platform you're using, that would be super sweet. If you want to get on Adam or Kevin's calendar, go to tgwipodcast.com/contact. We want to help you invest safely, wisely, and ultimately get you out of the rat race. Thanks again.